All right, so we all know you love a good survival show, and you're always up for dissecting some, group dynamics.
Always.
So we figured, why not dive into a Mr. Beast challenge
Oh, yeah.
that really puts both of these things to the test?
I love Mr. Beast.
We're talking decisions, sacrifices, unexpected twists, all the things that determine, who comes out on top.
Yes.
And by the end of this deep dive, you're going to have a whole new framework, I think,
Okay.
for understanding how teams, thrive or totally fall apart under pressure.
And who knows, maybe they'll even pick up a strategy or two that they can use in their own lives, right?
Exactly.
Whether they're, facing an actual wilderness situation or just dealing with like a tough group project at work.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all about teamwork.
It all applies.
Yes.
Okay, so let's set the scene.
Okay.
5 guys, 5 women, they get dropped in the wilderness, right?
Dropped right in.
Basic supplies, the goal, last longer than the other team, right?
Classic.
Win a bunch of money.
Of course.
Sounds like, your typical survival show setup.
It's so far so good.
But here's the thing. Neither team knows how many people are left on the other side.
Oh, wow.
Talk about a psychological curveball.
Yeah, Mr. Beast really added a whole other layer to this challenge, didn't he?
Oh,
It's like an information gap that changes everything.
right.
Think about it. Like in a normal survival situation, you'd want to know your opponent, right?
Right.
What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? But here, they're totally blind.
Totally in the dark.
Yeah, and that amps up the pressure,
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting to see how each team kind of responds to that right from the get-go.
Yeah.
We actually got our hands on some footage from both of the camps. So we can hear them strategizing, as it's all happening.
Fly on the wall.
Exactly.
Have it.
And right away, you notice a difference in their priorities.
Oh, yeah.
The men, it's all about speed, right?
Okay.
First instinct, build a shelter,
Tracks to
get out of the elements. Makes sense, right?
Makes sense.
But, we've got our expert here, and they're already shaking their head.
Oh, no. What's wrong with that?
So what is it? What's wrong with that approach?
Well, I mean, it kind of shows you how differently they're thinking about this whole thing.
Okay.
Right? Like, they're used to quick fixes, instant results. That's not how the wilderness works, right?
Right.
The women, though, they take their time.
Okay.
They're more calculated.
Yeah.
They want a place that's going to last with, clean water nearby, natural shelter, that kind of thing.
Okay, so it sounds like a small difference, but
Huge.
speaks to a totally different mindset.
Exactly. It's like they're already thinking long game
Yeah.
from the very beginning.
And that strategic thinking, that comes into play even more when you look at how they handle their resources.
Oh, absolutely. Especially the food.
Yeah.
Those rations, they're like a ticking time bomb.
Right.
The men, they ration it first, but you can tell
Yeah.
they're also like, hey, let's enjoy this while it lasts.
Yeah, it's a bonding experience, right?
Of course.
You're out there with your buddies. Why not?
Totally. But the women, different story.
Okay.
They realize early on that fewer mouths to feed
Right.
equals a better chance of lasting longer.
Yeah.
So they make a decision.
Boy.
They vote one of their own members off the island.
Yeah.
Cutthroat. Maybe
Yeah.
effective. Definitely.
Wow, so they're already thinking strategically like that.
Oh, yeah. And get this. One of the women, she actually volunteers to go.
No way.
Yeah, she's like, this is part of the plan.
Wow.
Can you imagine putting the team before yourself like that?
That's wild.
That's dedication.
That is dedication. That's incredible.
But don't forget, this is all happening in a vacuum, right?
Right. They have no idea what the other team is doing.
Exactly. So every decision, it's magnified,
Oh, the pressure must be immense.
Oh, totally. And just when they think they've got a handle on things,
What happens?
Mr. Beast throws his first curveball.
Oh, no. What does he do?
Challenge time.
Challenge time. Okay, so what does that mean?
So every 10 days, Mr. Beast throws these challenges at them, right?
Okay.
Offering extra food, supplies, that kind of thing.
Okay. Sounds pretty straightforward.
Right, but it's not just about individual skill at that point.
Right.
It becomes this whole strategic thing.
Yeah.
You risk it for the reward.
Oh, I see. So the stakes get even higher.
Exactly. So one example, there's this archery challenge. Prize is a mountain of pizzas.
Oh, man.
After days of rations and stuff.
Yeah, that's tempting.
Right. So the men, they're like, let's do this,
Yeah.
Let's have some fun with it. They pick a guy, I think his name was Patrick.
Okay.
Never shot an arrow in his life.
Oh, no.
But they're all like, you got this, Patrick. cheering them on, laughing.
It's all in good fun, right?
Sure, but you can see they're not really thinking about the bigger picture.
Right. Strategy goes out the window.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the women,
Yeah.
they're like, okay, who's our best shot?
Makes sense.
They're not messing around, you know?
They're there to win.
Oh, yeah, and you know what? They dominate, they win the pizza.
Of course they do. They were strategic.
Exactly, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
This pattern, it just keeps repeating.
Oh, you're saying the women are consistently more strategic.
Consistently, they're thinking steps ahead,
Wow.
connecting every little action to the end goal.
It's like they're playing chess, and the guys are playing, like, checkers.
That's a good way to put it.
But, it's easy for us to judge, right? Sitting here, comfy chairs.
Right, we're not exactly roughing it.
Exactly. But we're not out there,
Yeah.
sleep-deprived, under all that pressure.
Oh, totally. That's got to do something to your brain.
Right. Like, how can you even think straight?
And that's where that information gap, it really gets to you.
You think so?
Oh, absolutely. The men, they have no clue how the women are doing.
Right.
So they focus on what they can control.
Okay, so what? Like, their little group, keeping their spirits up?
Exactly. The bonds, the humor, just enjoying the moment.
Yeah, that makes sense, right? It's a way to cope.
Totally. It's survival, but not just physically, right?
I mean, like, mentally, emotionally.
All of it's about hope when everything feels so uncertain.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Right.
Yeah, and then, just as if things couldn't get more intense,
Oh, no. What happens?
Mr. Beast, he throws this whole other wrench in the works.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat. What is it?
He gives them a chance to see their families.
Oh, wow. After 30 days, that's brutal.
Right. Like, talk about an emotional gut punch.
Seriously, that's gotta mess with you.
So wait, he just, brings their families out there.
Okay, so it's not quite that simple.
Okay.
He gives each contestant a choice.
Okay.
You can have this brief reunion, right? See your loved one.
Oh.
Or you can give that visit to someone else on your team.
Oh, wow. So you don't even get the contact.
No, just the knowledge that it's happening for them.
Oh, that's even tougher.
Right. And remember, they still have no clue how many people are left on the other team.
Oh, gosh, yeah, that adds another layer to it.
It's not just about emotional comfort at that point.
Right. It could be strategic, too.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
what do you think the men do?
Oh, man. That's a tough one. After that long out there, I think I'd want to see my family.
They all chose family, every single one.
Oh, man. I get it, but still.
Yeah, and right after that, almost like a sign or something,
What happens?
a bear shows up at their camp.
You're kidding? Are you serious?
Dead serious?
Oh, man. So they're dealing with the emotional roller coaster of the families, and now a bear.
Talk about adding insult to injury.
So what happens? What do they do?
Well, they pull together, obviously. They deal with the threat. But it kind of solidifies this shift that's been happening.
What do you mean?
They're not thinking about winning so much anymore. It's about having each other's backs. They're in it together,
It's all about brotherhood now.
Exactly.
So on one hand, we've got the men. They're forming these really strong bonds.
Right, like really strong.
But the women, they're sticking to the plan, huh?
Yeah. Laser focus.
And all of that planning, all those sacrifices they made early on,
Yeah.
it all leads to this final showdown.
One-on-one.
One man, one woman.
Playing fields level, number-wise at least.
Right.
But everything else, totally different.
Okay, so paint the picture for us. What's the vibe like at this point?
Well, the guy is, they're riding high on that camaraderie.
Yeah.
They've had their setbacks, for sure. But they're feeling good.
Yeah, they've got that, unshakable bro code thing going on.
Exactly, and who can argue with that, right?
Right, it's powerful.
But at the end of the day,
Yeah.
this is about who can outlast the other person. That's where those strategic decisions, those early sacrifices,
You're talking about the women.
yeah, all of that, it pays off big time.
How so?
Well, while the guys are relying on shared strength, that willpower,
Right.
the woman who's left standing, she's been playing 4D chess this whole time.
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
Remember all those challenges they won? All those rations they saved?
Yeah, they were seriously disciplined.
Exactly. She's got a stockpile of food.
No way.
Oh, yeah. Enough to last her to the very end.
And the guys.
Let's just say, they enjoyed those pizzas a little too much.
Oh, man, so they ran out of supplies.
They got to a point where they just couldn't, sustain themselves.
Wow, so even with all that brotherhood, all that resilience.
It's heartbreaking, in a way, but it shows you
What's...
Those early choices, those strategic moves, they matter.
Yeah.
And in this case, they made all the difference.
So the woman, she wins it for her team.
She does, yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
It's a masterclass in like calculated teamwork.
Right, like they had a plan and they stuck to it, even when things got tough.
Even when it meant sending their own teammates home.
Which, let's be real, that takes guts.
Oh, yeah.
So what can we learn from all of this when we're back here in the real world, right? Not in the wilderness, but like at work, in our personal lives. How can we apply this?
I think it comes down to this. Know what you're up against, know your strengths, and most importantly, know when to think long term, even if it means making some tough calls in the moment.
It's about strategy and maybe a little bit of sacrificing some immediate gratification for something bigger down the line.
Exactly, because that instant gratification, that might feel good now, but it might not be what gets you to the finish line.
So the next time you find yourself on a team facing a challenge, any challenge, remember those women. Remember their focus, their planning, their incredible teamwork.
And hey, even if you're just watching one of these shows, you'll never look at it the same way again.
Exactly. You'll be analyzing those strategies. You'll be thinking, who's playing the long game here?
Who's gonna run out of pizza?
Exactly. And you know what? That's what makes these deep dives so fascinating, right? It's not just about the entertainment.
There's always something to learn.
Always. So until next time, thanks for joining us on this wild ride.
See you next time.